Okay, so yeah, Alhamdulillah, it's 2:30 already. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Um, I think before we're going to start our session now. Okay, let's start and begin our session with Al-Fatiha. Okay, thank you for all of you who still come for the second session, second forum. Okay, second forum. We have first session with Prof. Kamal just earlier in the morning, and then we have first forum with all the panelists talking about suicidal thought, self-harm, and stigma. And now we come to the second forum, okay, with also the incredible and very great speakers, okay. We have Dr. Fatimah Abdullah from IIUM as well. Okay, kalau Dr. Fatimah ni dah biasa dengan CCAC, selalu datang, kadang kita mengaji together dengan Dr. Fatimah. Okay, we got a lot of knowledge and she shared a lot with us. Dia ajar banyak dengan kami di CCAC, Alhamdulillah. And then kita ada juga another speaker which is far from UKSI, walaupun kita tak boleh rentas daerah, tapi tak boleh rentas negeri, tapi we still can have a very great speaker from UPSI, Dr. Amelia Muhammad Noor from Faculty of Human Development. Okay. I also have friend dekat, saya tak tahu, saya rasa Faculty of Human Development as well, Dr. Fatana Ramli, okay, from UPSI as well. Mungkin Dr. Amelia kenal kot. Okay. So kita nak berbicara tentang apa? Okay, kalau kita tengok, if we see the topic for today, for this session, is very very interesting. Okay, yang berlaku pada keadaan sekarang di mana we are very active in social media through digital punya platform, kan? We have kata teknologi di hujung jari, we can communicate even though we are far, like for example Dr. Amelia in UPSI. Dr. Fatimah dekat mana sekarang? Di mana? Di rumah? From your house? You maybe you need to open your mic.
Oh, sorry. It's just my house is just behind UIA campus. It's just 5-minute driving.
Okay. Yeah. Even though you are at your home, no need to come to office, and we still can communicate. We still can see each other.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because of the technology. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
But then with this, all the advanced technology, we can say that still, it happened that some of us experience loneliness. Feel like we are, even though we have people around us, we can like simply get connected, but then we somehow feel like we are lonely, we are alone by our own. The feeling of emptiness, the feeling of loneliness still there. Okay, so in this topic, we will talk about loneliness, and we will talk about hope that, people may have in this era of loneliness. I mean, like maybe even though, we're having people around us, but then at the same time we feel lonely. So what are the hope that, inside us that we actually want to, to be fulfilled, okay, to be understood by others. Okay, so for second forum, okay, for today we will talk, the topic is hope in the era of loneliness. Okay, we have very very great speaker, incredible speaker from IIUM, from UPSI, Dr. Fatimah Abdullah and Dr. Amelia, and we have Miss Madam Moderator, ataupun Sister Moderator lah, Sister Nur Mastura Arif. Tadi dia jadi MC, saya jadi moderator. Yang ni saya jadi MC, dia jadi moderator. Okay, so we work together.
Okay. cannot hear. You cannot hear. I hope internet doesn't cause trouble.
I think Sister Kharia, you are on the mute. You need to unmute.
Oh, siapa yang mute saya tadi? Ada orang unmute, ada orang mute saya. Sebab itulah saya tengok macam, okay, Sister Masura, sorry. Mungkin tadi apa tak dengar kan suara saya di pertengahan. Okay, so we have Sister Masura.
Okay, yeah. I did by mistake.
Huh?
I did by mistake.
Oh, okay, it's okay, Doctor. Okay, so Sister Masura, the floor is yours. Okay, welcome.
All right. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I think that we are already adapting with the new norms, right? Currently adapting with this, the famous quote, you are on mute, and then you need to unmute, and then you need to open your camera and then close your camera. So all of that jargons nowadays, we have to get used to it. Since we are adapting with the new norm. And previously, if we have all of these symposium or conferences through face-to-face, and now we have to be more alert, or we need to be more adaptable with online session. So yes, it is pretty much understandable. However, before we begin with this forum, thank you so much, my friend Sister Khairia, for introducing the panelists as well as myself. All right, in the morning, you guys met me as the MC, but for this forum, I have the honor to share this platform as the moderator to share the knowledge from our speakers to all the participants. So before we begin, I would like to highlight that please, for new participants that being admitted, kindly mute your microphone to ensure the smoothness of the audio, as well as there is one request from Dr. Jannah to Dr. Fatima. Perhaps you could tilt down a bit your laptop so we can see your face a bit clearer. Just a little bit. Tilt down your
tilt down.
Tilt down a bit, just a bit. Yes, Alhamdulillah. Yes, MashaAllah.
Okay.
We can see your whole face, which is very, very calming and so close to our heart. All right. So without further ado, let us start our forum for today with the topic Hope in the Era of Loneliness. As being briefed by our MC, Sister Khairia, this topic is pretty much very important to be discussed in this ever-challenging moment, I believe so. So even though we communicate, but we cannot see face-to-face, even before this current situation, we often sometimes feel at the state of loneliness. So whether or not the instilling hope could bring the solution or could empower an individual to overcome the state of loneliness, that is something that we need or we want to discuss in this forum. So inshallah, hopefully at the end of this forum, everyone is able to instill the sense of hope so that we could manage the state of loneliness, perhaps to ourselves or to our loved ones. All right. So for the first round, I think that I need to give the justice to all of our panelists to properly introduce yourself. So I hope to start with Dr. Emilia first. We start from the speakers far, far away from Oopsie. Dr. Emilia.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good evening to all of you and the audience, and thank you, Madam Moderator, Dr. Fatima, and also Madam Khairiyah, right? Just now, our MC. My name is Amelia bintu Muhammad Noor. I'm currently attached with EPSI, and my field in counseling, particularly niche in supervision of counseling. Talking about loneliness is actually part of one of my sub area related to the grief. So hopefully together we can learn something from all of our sharing. I'm looking forward for that one.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Dr. Emilia. I still remember I first met Dr. Emilia in the clinical counseling training. Yes, she shared a lot about grief, and I want all the participants also could benefit from her vast knowledge, inshallah. And to our second speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Fatima. And now, if you could share with us a little bit about yourself so that we can have a small ta'aruf.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm very glad to be in the group of people who are very caring about mental health issue, or shall I say psycho-spiritual state. Yeah, I like to be with you, Dr. Mastura. I like to be with you, Dr. Khairia. And particularly, inshallah, is going to be our new friend, Dr. Amelia, and the rest of you. I could not remember all the name of you. I'm getting old, so it's very difficult to remember names. But you are all close to my heart. Yeah. My field is on spiritual ethics. Actually, it's part of Islamic ethics, which deal with psycho-spiritual well-being of human being. Yeah, not only Muslim. Yeah, but of course our focus is on the work of or contribution of Muslim scholars in this field, particularly Imam Al-Ghazali, Al-Muhasibi, even Ibn al-Qayyim, big names, and these people are actually a Muslim psychologist that provide like a recipe for to heal or for soul healing, I shall say. Yeah, so this is my field, and also I like the field of a modern field, a modern study on spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, because they are closely related to each other. Then I find that this spiritual intelligence and psycho-spiritual aspect of Islamic ethics or spiritual ethics are closely connected, and then we can even borrow from each other to be used. So inshallah, some of them I will speak, I will explain, or we share with you all about the connection between the Islamic literature and Western literature, so that we can benefit, inshallah, to our discussion. Inshallah, thank you so much.
Inshallah. So with the brief introduction, self-introduction from both of our speakers, I'm not sure about other participants, but I am already feel so eager to know what would be their sharing to us, because I believe it's going to be bring the benefits to the ummah as well, inshallah. So let's us begin with the first questions. And this question, I think that I would want to ask to Dr. Amelia. As in the introduction, Dr. Emilia. So is it true that we are now living in the era of loneliness? And if is that so, may you share with us general overview what this loneliness is all about in the perspective of counseling?
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. So talking about are we currently in the era of loneliness, what I would like us to look back ahead and one step backward is knowing that we ourselves actually a social creature. So we need to belong and be part of other people, and we also want other people to be connected to us. So very interesting. One of the study that I found currently in 2020 by the Grok and her colleague said that in the UK statistic, the people actually reported 6 to 76% of them actually experiencing very problematic loneliness state. And that's kind of statistic actually being done 2019, and they conceive it getting higher for today during this pandemic situation. And one of the study I found in terms of Australian, what they call statistical and prevalence of the loneliness, they say that currently it happened that 1 in 4 people actually experiencing loneliness. So talking about, do we actually experience loneliness in the current situation? I would say yes. And it's actually the prevalence accelerated due to the pandemic situation. All right, and then talking about what is actually the overview of the loneliness, I would like to share from 4 different perspectives. So the first one is basically what is loneliness? And then I would love us to kind of make some differentiation. Does loneliness is actually equal to being alone? And then perhaps we want to know a little bit about the characteristic of the lonely people, and then we kind of have some basic idea, the types of loneliness. All right, so we move on. The first one, what is loneliness? So according to the psychological field, which is counseling part of it, the big umbrella is psychology. So scholars say that in general, loneliness is actually a subjective, unpleasant experience that we experience among us. And this is caused because of we are having a lack or we lost our companionship. So this kind of lack or loss of companionship happen in 2 ways. So the first one in a quantity. So let's say perhaps before this I have 10 close friends. So now I become a decrease because I am in a MCO. So I may have 5 people out of 10. And then another term that define as companionship is related to the quality. To what extent my intimate relationship. In order to understand this kind of definition and further, we need to understand what is unpleasant experiences. So it's actually related to the aversive state, means the state that we feel so painful and we no longer want to be in this kind of loneliness state. So we can understand in 3 different areas. So the first one, of course, the one I just mentioned, we're actually experiencing the relationship deficits, lack of relationships. And then the second one is actually having the component of perspective. So having said about perspective, it actually we have the negativity in terms of understanding what happens around us. Okay, so it's actually related to some extent we blame ourselves that we're having experience of loneliness, and to some people it's combination of you also blaming to other people, also blaming to the external factors. And the last one, of course, loneliness also comes together with the emotional responses. Means we feel the sadness, we feel the sorrow, we feel the anxiety, all sort of it. So combining all together is actually what we understand about subjective unpleasant experience. So again, what does it mean by subjective? Means that my perspective of this adversive state is totally different compared to Madam Mastura and compared to Dr. Fatima, because we are a unique person. Okay, and then I would like to move on to the second point about what is loneliness, how it differs to the aloneness, which is being alone. So typically what we can define being alone, which is actually we objectively what we call limited our interaction. We have few interaction, but by doing so, we actually by purpose, we want to do that. So I might have like 5 because I just want to connect it with 5 people. So the situation is different because it is objective compared to the loneliness itself is a subjective. So this kind of objective being alone is actually bringing the pleasure state because we have some sort of privacy, and actually the aim is we want to having a personal growth, right? To some point, if we look at for this one, being alone in a productive way, perhaps we can find in a positive, okay, in a positive manner. But interesting, whenever it comes, like we'll say over the time, actually there's a connection between being alone and loneliness. So at first, it's not equivalent, but at the end, being alone can lead to it having a loneliness experience. And then, of course, when someone that we know are experiencing loneliness, which is we call as a lonely people, we need to understand the characteristic of loneliness. The first one is that loneliness itself is temporary, mean it is treatable with using a appropriate intervention. That's one thing. But even though it seems like okay because it is temporary, if it is not untreatable, we do nothing about it. Then what happens is actually it can get worsened. And then the second, tied to the first definition, is related to the deficit of relationships. And then the characteristic of lonely people also have a negative bias. Everything that happens around them, they normally use the negative filter. Even to some point, some people just want to do a good thing to you, but you have that kind of filter, everything becomes a negative, sort of that one. And then, of course, what happened, you actually increase the hypervigilance of your social threats. What does it mean by that? You are very sensitive and you are very suspicious, whatever happens surrounding you. And of course, at the end, it's resulted in a negative way to yourself. Why? You become lack of trust toward yourself and others people, and you lot of confidence. Okay. And then my last point about the general overview, what is loneliness? I would like to share with you about types of loneliness. Basically, there is a lot of category based on the model, but I would like to share four main types of loneliness. So the first one, the model say that the first one is either emotional, some model call it emotional, and some other call is an intimate relation loneliness. So what does it mean by this one? So this is actually deficit or absence of the emotional attachment to our significant figure, significant member in our life. So when we lost this one, it's actually we doesn't have the very high quality responsive relationships. Because why? We as a human being, we need to connect it with other people. We want to learn something from other people, and we want other people to learn something from us. So if you don't have this kind of responsive connection, you lost the figure, the attachment figure. And the serious state that can lead after this is actually not very helpful in order to define who you are as a person, means defining your self-concept, right? And one of the models say this inner core of the relationships that can cause the intimate loneliness, we only actually need up to 5 people in our life. So it can be our parents, 2 counted, it can be our sibling, perhaps 2, another 2, it can be 1 best friend. It can only up to 5, okay? And then move on to the second layer or second types of loneliness is talk about the social and the relational loneliness, okay? So what does it mean by this one? It means that the social bond is getting bigger. You are looking more about support from each other. And then for this one, it's very interesting. Even though I say just now you are having more people, you are kind of extend your circle, but the quantity is not still the main thing. What you need and you look for is actually the quality of it. And this kind of number for the social loneliness, if what we actually want is in the between 15 people, and it can include the core person. But for those people who is experiencing loneliness, they don't have this kind of attachment for these relationships. And the last one for this kind of sequence of the 3 is related to collective.
Your internet connection is unstable.
Oh, sorry. Is interrupted, Dr. Fatima? Slow?
Yeah, my connection, internet connection is unstable, but on and off, it's okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me know. Okay.
Yeah.
So the third one is actually related to collective loneliness. So what does it mean? It's actually a social identity. For example, we want to be connected, like we together currently in this forum, in this symposium, we want to be connected, part of the mental health helper, right? So there is a social identity. And then the last one, the name is positive loneliness. So I would say the last one is a good one compared to the first 3. And hopefully we're having that part, okay? So what does it mean by positive loneliness? It means that we are being alone, but then we're experiencing positivity. So the main idea is actually finding our soul, and it can be done in 2 ways. The first one is searching who we are as a human being and how we did it, normally through self-reflection. And the second one is actually personal connection with our creator, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so and it's very interesting. It said that when we experiencing this kind of positive loneliness, it's actually give us very effective support whenever we're experiencing the first three types of the loneliness. Right. So that's it for me for time being. Thank you, Pastora.
Okay, mashallah. So we can see, if I were to pick up the last point, that we have four types of loneliness. Yeah, the first one is emotional or intimate loneliness, and then quantity versus support, quantity versus quality, and then collective loneliness, and finally positive loneliness. So it's like a negative and positive words in a sentence, but it's very interesting, which later perhaps I'm sure that Doctor will elaborate further on that, the positive loneliness. So thank you, Doctor, for the answer, a very detailed one. We learned about the characteristic and differentiate between the state of loneliness and also being alone, whether it's the same thing or not, and then the characteristic of loneliness. Okay, so I move to the next question to Dr. Fatima, inshallah. So Dr. Fatima, having known that human is a very complex living thing that created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which of course carries a lot of responsibilities as the Khalifa. We have to do we have to perform certain routines, certain responsibilities. Hence, is there any specific indicator in the Quran or the Sunnah that elaborate on the issue of loneliness?
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Thank you very much again for the very detailed. Okay. Can you see the slides?
Yes, Doctor.
Can you? Okay,
yes.
Alhamdulillah. So I provide the slide for the discussion today. Yeah, so to respond to your question, before I respond or I speak about the point that I prepared for the topic today, I just want to say that it seems that according to statistic done in the West, but in European countries or in Canada or in America, for example, in Canada, every 5% there is one who's suffering from this negative emotion, loneliness. And in America, there are 40% adults are suffering from loneliness. I do not know what is the real statistic among Muslim countries, in Malaysia or in the Arab world. I think I have no statistic on that, but I assume that the number of those who are suffering from this negative emotion are less. I just assume. The reason why my justification is that because people in Muslim countries, the real respect to religion is still there. People are religious. Many people are religious than those who are not religious. Yeah. So this is like I would like to highlight here the role of religion, religiosity and spirituality in dealing with the issue of many people are suffering today, whether among the youth or among the elderly people. They are suffering loneliness as well. So among the youth, of course, our colleague just now, Dr. Emilia, explained a lot about that. But among the elderly people, subhanallah, they are really very, very lonely people if they do not connect themselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, and youth also, if they are not connected with not involved in religiosity and spirituality to real connection with Allah and also with human being also. I mean, the issue of loneliness is very difficult to deal with. Yeah, so this is my introduction. So first of all, when we speak about spirituality and religiosity, actually, because there wouldn't be in Islam spirituality in Islam based on religiosity, not like Western conception of spirituality, which is you can be spiritual without or devoid of religion, yeah, which is not the case with Islam. So when we say spirituality, so the source of spirituality in Islam based on the Quran and Sunnah. So what does the Quran and the Sunnah Rasulullah SAW practice or his lifestyle in dealing with this life, particularly on the issue when there is issue about loneliness. Of course, I put together loneliness, anxiety, and depression because eventually loneliness very close related to anxiety and depression. And the last one is what do you call this? Despair that leads to suicide. Yeah, they are closely related. Yeah. So for Muslim, if they believe in the Quran and they love the Prophet and they follow the guideline of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so they believe that life is a test. Yeah, life is not like people who just who believe in the philosophy of hedonism, just life just to eat and to be happy, to do whatever they like, no responsibility, and which many people are committing to it now. It's not like that. So the life in Islam, life from Islamic perspective, Quranic perspective, is test. So we have two kind of tests here. First test about the rule of Sharia and the faith itself. Do we accept religion by obeying or by to follow the Islamic injunction or the command of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? And second kind of test, which is harder, which is related to what we are discussing today, which is suffering or pain. Yeah. So, and this, because since I have to refer to the Quran, so I have to bring details of the ayah and the translation. So this is taken from Surah Al-Baqarah. I do not have to read the text. I think the translation is clear there, which is وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ. Yeah, Allah says we test the Muslim or human being are tested with some fear, hunger, and some loss of wealth, life, and offspring. Yeah, so this is a kind of two kind of tests. So that's the way should be or should we follow in order to see this life. So how do we perceive this life? Yeah. So and many more kind of difficulties in life or natural disasters today, including coronavirus. So when facing this, so we take life as test. Yeah. Have we? So in the ayah also mentioned that how to face this life. So there is hope here if we are patient, if we have shown fortitude and patience in facing this disaster. So this is basically the main point or that related to the student. Yeah, I cannot. Okay. Have to go down.
Okay.
Cannot. Okay. 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 Right. And second point, other than life is test, is loneliness itself. Depression, anxiety is part of human being. Yeah, part of human life. Yeah. So again, because this life it is not permanent. This life it is not it is not immortal. This life is temporary, so it has all kind of attributes of mortality. So the life, we say that based on the Surah Al-Inshirah, so surely with hardship comes easy. Surely with that hardship comes more ease. Sorry, yeah. So this ayah actually reflects the characteristic of life itself, which is not to be considered. We cannot consider this life is like living in the paradise, for example. Yeah, it has difficulty. It has up and downs and all this. So this ayah actually addressed to the nature of difficulty or the nature of this life itself, which is contemporary. And the other surah is, I refer to Surah Wad-Duha. So Allah mentioned in three first ayah, Allah says this is in order to respond to Prophet ﷺ, because after he received revelation, and revelation stopped for some times. So Prophet ﷺ, of course, he has emotion, and he is sad and he is lonely. So how to face this situation? So revelation come to guide Prophet ﷺ. So the translation of Wadduha walayli idha saja. So by the glorious morning light, and by the night, then it is still. The guardian Lord has not forsaken thee, nor is he displeased. Yeah. So here is the third ayah here explain that Allah will not leave the Prophet alone. Yeah. And Allah asked Rasulullah SAW to see the ni'mah and to count the ni'mah that has been granted for him. Yeah. So these are the 2 points reflect the way we look at this life. And another point related to the discussion is that because we are discussing inshallah, we're discussing inner dimension of human being, which is the self or the soul, and the few related terminologies to the soul. Yeah. So before that, we should know that we should be grateful to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because man is created as the best creation. Yeah, as the best creation. Allah mentioned in the Quran, for example, in Surah At-Tin, that laqad khalaqnal insana fi ahsani taqwim. Yeah, so Allah created human being in the best form. And another surah, I cited so many surah here, Surah Al-Baqarah. Man, after he's created as the best creation, he has responsibility. That's why he's appointed as Khalifa. Of course, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. This is Surah Al-Baqarah. And in the same surah also, Allah mentioned that man is superior over angels and Iblis. Yeah. So this is, and because of the nature of man itself, created as Khalifa, it is not privilege, but it has responsibility. Responsibility of human being is to be a moral being, because they are created as the best creation of God. So in order to be a moral being, of course, the issue of spirituality is really essential, because we cannot speak about morality without actually discussing the spiritual aspect of human being. This will bring us to view on the concept of fitrah. Yeah? Fitrah of man. What is the nature of man? Yeah. So man, from Islamic perspective, is created with good nature. It's not like in Christianity. Man is created with evil or original sin. Yeah. So man, here you see the consistency of Islamic teaching itself. he is the best creation. He is appointed as Khalifa. And then the nature of man, he is created with fitrah. Fitrah, of course, man is created with fitrah, good nature, which will guide him to do good conduct and to return. It will, and also will strengthen his original nature and keeping it alive. So this fitrah is will constantly and naturally pursue virtue, goodness, and then this is innate in man. Just imagine if man is created evil, and then at the same time we speak about responsibility. This is contradiction, isn't it? Consistency. Yeah, we cannot say that the nature of man is evil, and at the same time we say, oh, man is created to carry out responsibility, because it doesn't go together. Because the nature of man is evil in their brain, is evil in their DNA. Genetically, they have a negative quality. So how do you speak about responsibility, religious responsibility, or social responsibility? Yeah, so I just want to make clear about the concept of fitrah here. However, though man is granted with fitrah, he is susceptible to evil stimuli. Yeah, so this is the nature of man also. So you can see this nature of man susceptible to evil stimuli. We have external factors like shaitan. Allah mentioned in the Quran many times, La tattabi'u khutuwati shayatin, for example. Don't follow the footsteps of shaitan, because shaitan is very close to human being. But at the same time, shaitan not to be blamed, because we have willpower, we have motivation, and we have intention. Yeah. So another, I would like to bring two to three ayah to show that the dimension of human being, which leads to evil stimuli, though he has good nature, but he prone to evil stimuli. So you can see ayah, for example, in Surah An-Nisa, mentioned that man is weak and susceptible to error. He is created weak, therefore he become prone to do mistake, or to do error, or to do to involve in evil or vices. Yeah. And also in other ayah, Allah mentioned that he's created to become impatient, and man also created to suffer from sentimentalism, like, you know, in hurry, not patient, always complain, and also attitude of men also. Some of them show this positive emotion, so lose hope and despair, which is condemned by the Quran. Yeah. A little bit on the nature of man, because why the man is like that. Yeah. As I explained in Quran. This is because of the nature of man. And man is created having dual nature. Man is body and soul. Yeah? So he has dual nature. He both body and soul. Yeah, he's at once physical being and spiritual being. Yeah, and when we speak about physical being and spiritual being, he is given animal properties like desire to eat, for sexual urge, and many other animal properties in human being. It is though we mention animal properties, but we do not. Islam does not condemn human being like that. But this is important for human being. If they do not have this desire to eat, to have food, or to have sexual relationship, how do we survive in this world? This is for the sake of, for the survival, or for the existence of man in this world, for purpose. Yeah. So, but also Allah has granted man like intellect, perception, imagination, in order for human being to survive also, but related to the cognitive perspective. and most importantly, man is given spiritual faculty so that they are able to acquire knowledge of the spiritual realm. Yeah. So according to Al-Ghazali, he is one of the Muslim psychologists, he considered the spiritual endowment is true seed of knowledge in human being and is the substance of his real essence. Just imagine if he has no faculty, he has no spiritual faculty in his body, or it's only physical and brain, just like human being, just like modern or Western concept of man today. Man is nothing but his brain. Yeah. So how men become closer to God? How men become good to human being? How men become loving and mercy to another fellow being? How men can create brotherhood between them? Without spiritual faculty, you cannot expect human being have this. Yeah. So that's why we are familiar with the term al-aql, intellect, faculty, nafs, soul, qalb is heart, and the last one is ruh, which is spirit. This is mentioned in the Quran directly or indirectly. So to mean intellect, souls, heart, and spirit. When we say heart here, we do not mean physical heart, we mean spiritual heart. It's all referred to one single spiritual substance in man. Without that, we cannot really become a human being. Yeah. So if we are created with dual nature, of course, we're going to face a lot of conflicts. Or here is the point that life is test. You know, Allah wants to test us. He give all this potential, all these faculties in us. So these things are together. There will be conflicts between two aspects. Of course, we cannot avoid, which cannot be avoided. Yeah. And then, as I said just now, this is real indeed the test and weighty burden of trust, amana, which is placed upon his soldiers. Yeah. So Imam Al-Ghazali see these conflicts as like a group of powers of soul, just like devoted army in perpetual battles. Yeah. So some of them fight to pull human being down to depth of his bestial nature, and while the other side, opposite power, fight to raise him to transcend to angelic level. This is our life like this. Yeah. That's why we have a nafsul ammara, the one that the nafs that pull human being to the lowest of the low. Those who really have no self-control, follow the lower soul, will become worse than animal. And then we witness this almost every day in the society. And human beings, at the same time, in themselves, if they struggle and they clean themselves, purify themselves, patient in all other qualities, they can upgrade themselves and they can raise themselves to the angelic level. So look, this is beautiful, very dynamic about the nature of human being. Otherwise, if we are just, there is no such thing as soul, or there is no such thing as conflict in ourself that struggling to pull up and to pull down. So where is the jihad then? There is no jihad. Yeah. This is a concept of jihad that refers to jihad of the self, yeah, which is greater jihad, bigger than jihad in the battlefield. Yeah. So, and then Allah promised reward for those who really submit and do the jihad, as I said just now, by true submission to the and get divine peace, spiritual through get spiritual fulfillment, and of course, when you have this, you're going to be happy in this world and the hereafter. But of course, happiness in this world, you cannot assume it is the same like happiness in this hereafter. Of course, it's maybe we cannot put in percentage, but at least happy because we have the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So this is what we call a blessed psycho-spiritual gift. can only be attained through submission. Submission can be forced submission, can be through submission. Yeah. I differentiate between true submission and forced submission because in other religion, they mention they also submit to God. But is it true submission? How to make sure you have true submission? Here then, after this, we're going to discuss about Tawheed, which become the acid test to our submission. If there is no belief in God, so submission is not considered as true submission. It can be false submission. People who submit to money, submission, we cannot consider this true submission. This is false submission, isn't it? So submit to the authority of a politician or autocratic power for their selfish purposes. Also, it's not true submission. So submission can be true, can be false. Yeah. So if we have this kind of submission, this make human being attain, or they can attain the elevated status of nafsul mutmainnah. So when Allah mentioned, the Quran mentioned nafsul mutmainnah, it reflects the struggle of human being to go higher up to achieve this state. Yeah. So the job of Muslim is to must strive hard to attain this exalted status of the nafsul mutmainnah. Here I don't know how much time I have. Can I continue to speak a little bit about, okay, maybe a few more minutes to say about Al-Ghazali, because all the time we refer to Al-Ghazali because his work is really great contribution to Islamic psychology today. Yeah. So Al-Ghazali considered then that the man, because of the dual nature, physical and spiritual, but the body is the home of the soul, and the soul is greater than the body, meaning the soul is superior than the body. Yeah, how to prove this? Of course, this is some people we cannot say to bring proof, because soul you cannot even see, but of course you believe it is there. Yeah. So, but he believed that soul is greater than the body. Yeah. Although soul and the body are separate entities, they are influence each other. Yeah. For example, every act you produce an effect on the soul if it is done deliberately and repeatedly. Yeah. Of course, we can bring a lot of example here. For example, you are acts of hatred, for example, or the thing which is not approved by religion, for example. The impact on the soul is very bad. Yeah. So that's what we mean here. Yeah. So when it comes to conception of human nature and behavior, we actually, from Islamic perspective, or Muslim scholars speak about the importance of the soul and its faculties to explain the causes of psycho-spiritual well-being and adaptation of the soul. So when it comes to psycho-spiritual well-being and correction of the soul, the focus is to human heart. So spiritual level, we mentioned just now, we have an-nafsul al-amarah, the lowest one, that can cause people to do or behave like the lowest of the low. Adalla min, this is the word, the Quran verse mentioned, those who submit to nafsul amarah become slave to the negative soul. Yeah. And nafsul lawamah, of course, this is like struggling, struggling to maintain. Yeah. Jihad, the need of jihad. And the pacified soul, when you, after you successful controlling yourself, being patient, and you perform all these rituals and all this, you inshallah will reach nafsul mutmainnah, which is not that easy also, because people of course reach this level. But inshallah we speak more and more and more and more about this, then we understand inshallah what is the inner nature of human being. Yeah. So I bring one hadith here. the hadith that Allah mentioned, hadith Rasulullah SAW, narrated by Imam Al-Bukhari, mentioned that the heart occupies supreme autonomous status in the scheme of human personality. It controls and rules over all the regions of the brain and the whole nervous system. Yeah. So the heart is deemed to be master and the key entity that regulate all sort of behavior functions and drive the entire course of personality development, both in a positive and negative direction. So this hadith in Rasulullah mentioned, within man there is a fleshly fragment, and when it is corrupted, the body is corrupt. And when it is sound, the body is sound. This is hadith from Abu Bukhari. So if the heart becomes sick and corrupt, and the personality turn towards regressive course, ruination, and self-introduction. So when we are suffering from loneliness, if we do not care, not only we speak about we take care of ourselves. I mean, not only one person, but at a different level, family level, parenting, societal level, social support, or to repair the internal or inner dimension. Yeah. So because when there is association, dissociation, there is not connection between soul and the heart. So the result is the destructive behavior, which can lead to barbaric attitude, just like animal without moral basis. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we stop here. It's a lot already.
Inshallah. So what I can capture from the sharing from Prof, thank you so much, Prof, that whenever we talk from the psycho-spiritual perspective, it is never an easy explanation, I would say, because psycho-spirituality comprises all the elements, so we need to touch on every perspective, and then there's no shortcut to giving whether the black and white answer to a certain situation. And what is most magnificent is that Allah knows our limitation, but also at the early Prof Dr. Mentioned about the world is a place of test. We are indeed will be tested in so many ways, wealth, and then about our offspring, in many aspects. And also when Prof shared about Islam condemn when people lose hope and despair, it's not in a negative tone. It's actually to encourage all the Muslims out there to keep burning the signs of hope, and also to find ways to eliminate or to manage the state of loneliness. So with that point, it is very interesting. So I relate it to the next question for Dr. Emilia. From your experience and knowledge, what may seem to be the contributing factors for someone to be in the state of loneliness, and how does that affect a quality, the individual's quality of life?
Thank you, Madam Mastura. So I guess there's 2 points there I'm going to share with you. One is the contributing factors, and then how loneliness impact our quality of life. So understanding about contributing factors, I will touch in a different angle as well. So the first one is trying to know, because we, as I said before, this social creature, sorry. So we want to be connected to each other, and then we need to understand one thing in cognitive performance model. What it said is about when we connected with other person, we actually develop our own individual comparison level. So this comparison level, where do we get it? From our socialization. So what is comparison level? Comparison level is actually the quantity and also the quality of relationship that we desire. So again, it is a very unique among each other. Okay, but it is a very interesting part, because to some point there is a study done the research, they want to know if you have a certain comparison level in your relationship. So do you need to be exceed, or do you need to have low in order to get a loneliness, something like that? And interesting part is said that when you have a relationship and then some of the relationship is below your comparison level, below your desire, so the only connection to loneliness is when you have low number. It's not much to the low quality, but in terms of low comparison level. And another interesting part, they say that whenever people, we like us in a relationship, and to some point, the connection that we have with significant people, the comparison level is higher. That person giving us more than we need. And it is interesting, it doesn't connect it to loneliness, and it doesn't affect much with the satisfaction. It's a very, what do you call, an answer, answer, something like that. And what they did is actually, what is in the more thing that we need to understand is actually whenever our comparison level of relationship match with other people comparison level, there when it's come that we're having a satisfaction within our relationship, and we are not experiencing loneliness. So the point is actually we don't want something in relationship that is too low, we don't want too much. We just want in a moderate level what we want. And it's, I would say it's not easy to get it from other people, right? Especially even with our significant people, because we are human beings, it's hard to be read out, right? We cannot read our own mind sometimes. How come we're going to read others people's mind? And then another model said is where we lack 6 of the social function elements, we can lead toward it can lead us toward the loneliness. So the first one is again attachment, means that we doesn't have the emotional bonding, the connectedness. So I think it makes sense. Some people have a lot of friends, but they doesn't have doesn't have a confide. They doesn't have a confidence to say something, to share something with those person. So it doesn't have attachment. The second point is related to social integration, means a sense of belongingness. So I know you care me and I do care about you as well. The third one is about reassurance of the worth. So means that we want to have a people who kind of recognize our competence. We do want that kind of appreciation. And it is very interesting as well because we normally only high appreciation when that kind of recognition comes from a closer group of relationships compared with the outside world. Okay. And then the fourth one is a reliable alliance, means someone that we can count if we need assistance, we can need help. The fifth one is actually related to guidance, means the one or the person that we can account for advice. So normally this kind of group people, someone that we look higher, we are really kind of rely on them. And the last one is the vice versa. We also need a social function, whereas people actually rely on us. So when we doesn't fulfill this kind of 6 element, we actually have a high possibility to experience loneliness. Okay. And then another article talking about the sources of loneliness across the lifespan development. And it is very interesting. It said that the first is when we are a young childhood, we actually looking for number. We want playmate. We want to share certain things. So our relationship more towards numbers of relationship. But then as we're getting older, our needs change. We no longer want about a quantity. We are looking for quality. And it said it's true, especially for the older people. So elder people want a quality because they are struggle a lot, especially they're losing their partner. They're also kind of having a different what they call world, because back then they are working and now they are in the retirement phase. So that kind of ideation, right? And then I also like to talk about the contribution factor in terms of risk factors. There is 8 factors that I would like to share, but sometimes it is also how can I say, this is not a definite result. It's also in terms of how can I put this one, in a decisive result. So some people say found yes, and some people say there's no correlation. So the first one is about age. What they found is actually in a U-shaped correlation. So as Dr. Fatima mentioned just now, actually it's been proven in the psychological field in our research that the most common age people feel loneliness is at a youth age, young adulthood, and also at old age, which is 65 after you're retired. So that's the loneliness come and impact more toward us. And the second risk factor is about gender. So some article reported that women have a positive correlation toward the loneliness, but it's not a definite. It said that it's not proven. It's sort of biased. There is some what you call justification that said that women have a tendency to be a person who like to do a self-disclosure compared to men. So to some point, it makes sense, right? We talk more as a being a woman, okay? And then the third one is related to socioeconomic status. When you're having a financial constraint, you're having high chance of having a loneliness. The fourth one is something related to our cultural paradox. So sometimes, even though we know as in Eastern country, we've been living in the collective culture, but even we are sharing the same big norm, each of what they call individual norm in our family, in our societal norms, we have our own definition, how we should connect to each other. The more restrictive that be given to us, the restrictive rules, you should do this thing, don't do that one. People kind of isolate themselves and having more chance to feel loneliness. The fifth one is related to the partner and household composition. Means that when you are living alone, you have a more chance to having loneliness. And also, if you are a single mother, or perhaps you're having a separateness in your life, or you are childlessness. Okay. And the sixth one is related to health. If your health condition, physical health condition deteriorate, so again, it's sort of have a high chance to experience loneliness because you cannot taking care of your body. So there is a deficit there. Okay, and then the seventh one is related to our biological components. This is things that we need to understand because sometimes when we born, we actually inherit certain what we call temperament, certain way of we behaving. So it is, even though we come from the same father and mother, the way that we inherit from our parents is totally different. I would always like to make analogy as a glass. So for example, we as a human being as a one glass, and then there's another person, our sibling also another glass. So the glass, when it's on, it always have a certain liquid. So that kind of what you call the milliliter of the liquid is our genetic form. So let's say the A person have a 300 milliliter out of 500, the full glass. And then even though the sibling only have 50 milliliter, so you actually begin not at the same baseline. So the first person, the A, whenever they experience a lot of factors, a lot of provoking factors, they cannot handle much because the glass is almost full. So it just need one or two. That's why they become more or have a tendency to become a lonely person. Okay, and the last one, of course, is related to social loneliness, relationships. So if you don't have a good number of relationships and a good quality of relationships, for sure you might experiencing loneliness. All right. And another interesting finding that I found recently by GOG 2020, which is this year, it said that due to the context of COVID-19 pandemic, they have several risk factors that can make people experiencing loneliness. So the first one is being younger. The second, female. The third, having lower socioeconomic status, experiencing pre-existing mental health condition, living alone, financial concern, and worry about the impact of being quarantined during this pandemic. This all combination actually what we call very high chance to experience loneliness. And another study from Hart, also this year, this person actually study about how the correlation between a lonely person and also the usage of the technology, the communication. And it said a very interesting things. Even though we can communicate through technology, we can see people virtually, but there are two groups which is have a more tendency to experience loneliness. The first one is actually those who already periodically and chronically lonely, means they have a history of being lonely. So this person before pandemic also have a loneliness. When the pandemic is now, the current pandemic is happening right now, is accelerated. And the second group is actually those who are living alone, but back then when they are living alone, they have a very active lifestyle. So when you are in quarantine, you kind of like being stuck, you cannot do much. So these two kind of groups from their research is actually highly kind of feeling worst part of impact due to the lonely pandemic, right? Um, Moving about how does and to what extent the loneliness affect in our life, I would like to share from two topics. The first one, the stages of loneliness, and the second one is about the prolonged loneliness. So, based on the lake, his model said there's a three stages of loneliness. So the first stage is actually quite similar to the fourth type of loneliness that we just shared, we just learned about just now, which is positive loneliness. Means that at the first place, at this stage, we actually do immediate and limited social withdrawal. We withdraw ourselves, but in a very short time. So what is actually happening during this time? We cut off our relationship with other persons, and we kind of stop having reassurance that, yeah, I know you like me, I know you love me. We stop for a while. Okay, so it say we need having this kind of stage one from one what you call one time to another time, because it's kind of make us reflect back who we are right now, what can we improve. Okay, but we don't want to be what you call be in this stage for quite longer, because it can turn into the stage two. So what happened to the stage two? Actually, if you are happening be in the stage two, characteristic is you start blaming. So there is a blaming culture. You blame about ourselves, yourself. It is because I'm the one who don't know use the technology. That's why I feel left out. I feel loneliness. And then the other part is, of course, you blame others. You blame the environmental, the external factors. Okay. And then this is, of course, can bring you to having lack of confidence and trust about yourself and other people as well. But interestingly, they say that from this model, if you enter stage two, it's still treatable. It's okay. You can give a hand to help that kind of person. What we really kind of aware, we don't, hopefully none of us in here actually enter stage three, because during stage three, they call you become apathetic person. Apathetic person is actually those who only concern about themselves. For example, let's say if I feel hungry and I know the person next to me also feel hungry, and I only have one meal that can fill one stomach, I don't care about the person next to me because I only care about me. So that is a word of apathy. And you also giving up about care about other person. So you don't feel about the positivity in life anymore. And what is actually happen is can bring us towards suicidal ideation, and it's very hard to treat this kind of person, bring them out from the loneliness world. So it said that it takes a long phase, it takes a long time to enter stage three. So I would say, from my understanding from the reading and from my understanding seeing this kind of person, it's not an overnight. So it is a very long process. And again, I would say there's a lot of multi-factors that affected the person. And I believe this person is actually already seeking for help, and unfortunately, somewhere out there doesn't see the alarm coming from that person. So hopefully we can avoid this thing. All right. So talking about another aspect, how loneliness affect one's life, there's a term called prolonged loneliness. Loneliness, as I said before this, is just a temporary, it's something that is curable, but when it comes over time, it becomes a worsen, we can see it as a prolonged loneliness. So it is a trajectory process. So what happened, it gives you a lot of what you call impact in a negative way. The first one, it will decrease our well-being. We are no longer experiencing loneliness. What actually we are having a spiral down. We are experiencing depression. We might experience anxiety and other mental health or mental illness issues. So that's one thing. Second, we might what you call adapt ourselves in order to cope, but we are using inappropriate coping strategies. For example, we may use something that is not appropriate, like substance abuse, or we consume alcohol in a different way, something like that. Or perhaps to some person, they might switch away from their nature or believer to another concept of believer. Okay, that is hopefully not getting there. And then the third one is related to the interpersonal issues. Of course, when you're experiencing loneliness for a long time, you don't trust people, you have a hyper vigilance, you're very suspicious about other person, you don't trust people, and everything you see is so negative, not just negative, very negative. And then you don't trust yourself to some point. And what happened is you're actually adapting maladaptive cognitive biases. Okay, so of course this is hardcore for us as being a counselor. We're going to dispute this thing. It's not that easy because there's already there. It's a very what they call a valid, solid structure there. Okay, and the last one is about physical health condition. Okay, so yeah, so even though sometimes it's healthy in the physical, but when you experience loneliness, it can affect your body. So sort of like a psychosomatic syndrome. You feel actually fever, having a fever, having cold, not because of the first place you lack of nutrition, but because of negativity inside of your body, right? And yeah, and I think the interesting part is actually all this kind of thing together that I just mentioned to you, from decreased well-being until the physical condition. It is come in a vicious cycle. Means one factor to another become another factor, and it become affected with another factor. And this kind of loop is not going anywhere until that person willingly want to get out, or another person see you and try give hand to get you out from that kind of loop. Okay, so it is I would say the factors is there. It's just like for us individually as a person, do we aware the factors? How can we help ourselves in order to help other person? All right, thank you, madam. That's from me just now. Okay.
Okay, Masya Allah. So it's very detailed explanation on the contributing factors that might lead to loneliness. And also Dr. Amelia touches a bit about stages. And indeed, I agree with Dr. People who experiencing prolonged loneliness is not happening overnight. It must take years, and then and eventually, perhaps along the way, started to lose some hope, and then see no way out, and then the vicious cycle started to affecting one another and the contributing. So at the end of the day, they found that I'm in a spider web, so I cannot go anywhere. Okay, so that is from the perspective of psychology and counseling. So we have contributing factors, and then it does affect at certain level the quality of life to that individual. From perspective of Islam, Dr. Fatima, go back to you again. People often sometimes associate having the sense of loneliness with having the low connectivity with religious teaching. So why you feel lonely? Because you're not do this enough. Okay. So in your opinion, could we reduce the risk of having the state of loneliness by increasing our religious understanding and internalizing the ibadah?
Thank you very much again. I will bring the, there are two more points about, one point only from the earlier topic that I want to stress on the role of religion and spirituality, which really need to be or require urgent identification and address because of the impact of the when in a state of human being not okay, so is become devastating. The impact is so great to human being to face. Yeah. So that's why I said here temperament, desire, egocentric, and personality traits require urgent identification and address. So one of them, loneliness included in this sense. Yeah. So again, to deal with negative emotion, loneliness, for example, you have to deal with emotion. Yeah, they need to be controlled and need to be directed to the right path by following Quran injunction as mentioned in the Quran and the Hadith, which I just I already mentioned before. Yeah. So emotion and desire occupy a very vital part of human soul, and both emotion and psychological dimension of men have positive and negative impact on human behavior. This, of course, a lot of studies done in the West in particular prove this. Yeah. Therefore, Islam stress again and again about tazkiyah, about self-purification or refinement of the soul. If we actually would like to treat or to change behavior by changing from negative emotion to positive emotion. Yeah. So when we speak about self-purification or refinement of the soul, we actually refer to a kind of realignment of the soul, to balance the soul. This is the core of Islamic spirituality. Yeah. We speak about connectivity. Connectivity in a Western literature, I noticed that they speak about connectivity and then they bring a lot of research studying many studies shown that this connectivity or connectedness is something has been wired in the brain of human being. Yeah. So it is for us as a Muslim. Of course, we do not have to wait scientific study or research done in order to believe that Islam is about hablum minallah and hablum minan-nas, connected to Allah and connected to human being, relationship with Allah and relationship with human being. This is what Tawheed is all about. So if we want to increase the level of Tawheed, so connection with Allah should be better and better and closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is the core of moral and spirituality. Yeah. Connection with Allah, we, of course, terminologies like taqwa, like iman, ihsan, all this, it has the dimension. Taqwa itself has, when we speak about rituals, ibadah, taqwa itself has two dimensions, external and internal aspect. Yeah. Okay, when how to do taqwa, it is can be done through the channel of ibadah, from wudu itself. I mean, when we make wudu before prayer, we not only clean the face, the hand, and the leg, but actually it also symbolizes the cleanliness of the inner self. Yeah, so that's why when we take wudu, we not only focus on physical, we also focus on spiritual before perform prayer itself. Okay, and salat. Salat is not just automatic movement from Allah takbir, Allah akbar, subhanallah, subhana rabbiyal a'la wa bihamdi, but focus on the meaning of the word, the salat itself, so that we can get impact. Then we can say we perform internal and external aspect of ibadah. So same goes to zakat. Zakat is not only to give money, but even to give your heart to people is considered zakat. Some Muslim, particularly the Sufis, they broaden the meaning of zakat to that aspect, which is beautiful to me. Yeah. So other than that, internal aspect, activity of the hearts. We have physical hearts, but we are now talking about spiritual heart. Yeah. So spiritual heart dealing with action. Submission. This is experiential aspect of submission or Islam in the form of shukur, in the form of patience, in the form of zikir, contemplation. There are so many mechanisms for us in order to be connected to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Yeah. The problem with human being when the connection is cut off with Allah, when you are too far from Allah. When you forget Allah, then Allah will forget you. That's what Allah said. When Allah forget, you will suffer all kind of spiritual or psycho-spiritual illness. Yeah. When you are not grateful to Allah, Allah will forget you. But when you are grateful to Allah, when you thank Allah, Allah will give you a lot of a reward, which we cannot even explain. Yeah. So here to speak about mechanism, how to clean the heart, one should careful about sin, and because sin coming from the heart, righteousness also coming from the heart. But if we are not careful, we do not purify the heart filled with impurity. So the consequences is perdition. And on the contrary, if the heart is clean, from sin, so inshallah, the result is salvation. Yeah. So many scholars stress on the importance of meditation, of tafakkur, zikir, of tasbih, of salat, in order to find mental stability and to cure kind of psychological illness. This is said by our great Muslim scholars how many thousand years ago, but until today is still relevant. Yeah. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, for example, he speak about ways of cleansing heart from impurities. Yeah. Because these impurities can cause psychological pathology. Yeah. He said the heart become covered with rust, just as metal dishes, silver, and their like become rusty. So this is just imagine if the heart is rusty, so all kind of problem rise there. So that's why the solution is to remember Allah, to in order the heart to become shining like a shining mirror. Yeah. But the heart is created to remember Allah. This is the function of the heart. But if the heart is abused by forgetting Allah or putting something that in the place of remembrance of Allah, so the heart have problem again and need to be clean again. Yeah. That's why we have concept of istighfar. We have concept of in relation to zikir, we have concept of istighfar. Two things here: forgiveness and zikir. Yeah. And Al-Ghazali mentioned also functional diseases are caused due to ignorance and lead, of course, eventually become more serious, lead to deviation from God. And the darkness of ignorance can afflict the heart of a person, and as a result, it will be alienated from divine guidance. So his views of great Muslim scholars about the situation of the heart if it is not clean. Yeah. So so that's why Al-Ghazali himself stressed so much on the caring of the soul. Take priority over one's body. Just how it is important to eat healthy and exercise to maintain healthy body, the soul should be cared for much more extensively, yeah, because the soul is is superior than the body. Yeah. Other than mechanism like patient, thankful to Allah, istighfar to Allah, we have also hope and fear. Yeah. So if the feeling of hope and fear, I noticed that positive psychologists speak a lot about hope and fear. They should be, Imam Ghazali said, hope and fear should be balanced like the wing of bird. You know, if the wing of bird is not balanced, they cannot fly. Yeah, so the same thing goes to the concept of fear and hope. You have to fear Allah, and at the same time, you have to hope from the love and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to do good in order if you want to see Allah. If you want to meet Allah, you have to do a lot of good deeds, including to take care of your soul so that your soul not become sick. Yeah. Tawakkul, of course, Allah mentioned so many places in the Quran. Ni'mal Mawla wa ni'mal Nasir. You have to just leave things to Allah after doing a lot of effort and leave things to Allah, because the whole thing, you cannot control the world. After you have done your part as human being, the rest of the thing you have to leave the creator of this universe. And lastly is about love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Love of Allah. Allah mentioned, for example, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah mentioned a lot about the position of people who love Allah, their life, they can be happy in this world and the hereafter. Another part of Tawheed, which speak about connection with Allah. Connection with Allah is vertical, but connection with human being is horizontal. Okay, so Islam is not complete if without combination of these two connections. Yeah. So based on concept of Tawheed, human being have to have a really good relations to connect to each other. I read a book of social intelligence. In this book, they show that people are wired to be connected to each other, and making good relationship, according to the author of this book, good relationship act like a vitamins, and bad relationship like a poison. Yeah, just support what we are saying all this time. Yeah. So at individual level, they say social media disconnect human relation. Yeah. Of course, when we speak about something including social media, of course we have to be fair to this. Of course, there is always advantages and disadvantages. I think so. Social media that connect between human beings, which is positive. Which is not positive is you forget your responsibility as human being. I mean, you have, because hadith in Islam, there is a hadith that mentioned that for each of us we have right towards each other. For example, simple thing we do. When people give you salam, you have to reply. It is compulsory for you to reply. This is simple hadith, but it reflects so broad concept about interpersonal relationship. Yeah. When you are advised, you ask for advice, you have to give advice to people. Of course, when I say advice here, you should know what to advise, how to advise, not to advise, but people, instead of people, for example, who to commit suicide, come to you to seek adult for advice, instead of become better, will kill himself. I mean, this is not good advice. Of course, you should know the ethics and the skills to advise. Yeah, and then among the rights among Muslim is when you are sick, when people are sick, you have to visit. And then when you sneeze, you have to reply. When you sneeze, this is very simple but very significant. When you sneeze, you have to reply. When you sneeze, you say Alhamdulillah, isn't it? And then people who listen to you say Yarhamkallah, means Alhamdulillah. Of course, you're thankful to Allah because it's related to well-being of human being. But Yarhamkallah means Allah give you mercy. Look at this so beautiful relationship between Muslims. The simple things like that, you have to be sensitive. Yeah, don't be insensitive, because insensitive, which is arrogance, can destroy human relation. Yeah, so Islam cares so much about that. And when people are sick, you have to visit. Of course, you should know, particularly people who are sick become very lonely. Cancer patient, for example, can suffer from loneliness, depression. Just imagine if people, friends, for example, they don't care to visit. For example, look at what happened to this cancer patient. Poor guy, or poor, patient. Yeah. So, and then the last one, if you find funeral, you have to follow the funeral to that extent. This is the clear right towards human being. And there is hadith mentioned that if you have problem, you have conflicts with your brothers, sisters, I mean Muslim, you cannot stop relationship more than 3 days. I mean, to me, you need some time, of course, when things happen, conflicts or anger, or they cause you anger or something. You need some time to cool down your emotion. But do not exaggerate the feeling of anger to the extent that you cut off relationship. We say in Islam, the terminology is qata' ar-rahim, silatul rahim is very important in Islam, because of the issue of this explain the concept of tawhid in relation to human being. This is beauty of Islam. Yeah. So educational psychology is very important. We learn from great Muslim scholars, and also Western scholars speak about how to deal with our emotion, how to differentiate, to understand emotion, to understand mood. This is all important. Particularly, basic communication skills need to learn. I mean, this is like fardu ain for all of us. Yeah. At family level, I would like to stress the role of parenting here. Parenting, you have mother and father, particularly mother. They have job, they have responsibility to take care or to observe, to monitor the personality trait of the children. I mean, since young, you are familiar with this. Yeah. If you are not, you just don't care about the emotion, about the character, about the things related to personality. So awareness, you have to develop the awareness of personality trait for children. And of course, we are learning. I mean, we don't stop learning to improve our character since we were born until we die. This is important. I mean, nobody who can claim that my personality is perfect, I have very strong personality, therefore I'm perfect. It's not such thing. These are arrogant claims. Yeah, the job of improving one's personality, molding character, will never stop until the day of judgment. That's why the fardu, the salat obligation, zakat, and all this never stop until the end of the day of judgment, because it's related to character building. Friendship is very, very important concept in Islam. We call it sahaba. In order to, this is our great Muslim scholars, particularly Miss Kawai, mentioned many times the importance aspect of friendship. Then can help people improve themselves. You cannot let your friend alone. You cannot just ignore, because eventually they will die if they are suffering. With nobody take care at family level, nobody at individual level is not capable to do that. And at societal level, you have no system, you have no center that support you to save humanity. If you save humanity, if you kill one person, as if you kill the whole ummah. But if you save one person, as if you save one ummah. This is understood from Surah Al-Ma'idah, not translation, but general lesson from this year. So I remember I have seen YouTube on one of YouTube related to how to deal with loneliness. Very interesting. She is a woman, I think, of middle-aged woman. She said she was suffering from lonely for many years, but then she learned and to improve her problem. Then she tried to share with people and she said she have done a lot of rituals. Rituals. What are the rituals she practiced? Rituals here is she visit her friend, she travel with her friend, they sing together, they dance together, they make physical exercise together. This is very interesting. Of course, in Islam, it is good. I think to my mind, you not only pray, you not only fast, the ibadah itself is so broad. When you are good to people, this is a form of ibadah. So when you make people happy, you smile, you give good advice, this is ibadah. If you are sincere to do that, so you are rewarded. So this also can help. I mean, we come together. That's why we should understand in Islam why salat berjamaah itu penting. Salat berjamaah, you get 27 reward. If you pray jamaah but you pray alone, you do not get reward. What does this mean? The significance of jamaah is that people don't understand. They think that in the prayer only jama'ah, but when it comes to other things, there is no such thing as jama'ah. We take things very literally, so we do not understand actually the concept of jama'ah. Concept of jama'ah is actually we have to have brotherhood, solidarity. We people need our help. We go and help. We listen to people. Of course, we have to learn. I mean, how to do that. We need skills and so on and so forth. So, but we just say this is a responsibility, social responsibility to save people, not to be selfish like some people who do not care other themselves, which is they are losing in this world and the hereafter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and the last point is about loneliness and aloneness. Loneliness, we already spoken just now, is a negative emotion. Then we already spoke about how to treat, how to deal with. But aloneness is something else. Aloneness, I have read one book. The title of the book is Alone to Alone. I like it so much. Yeah. So alone to alone, aloneness here is a positive. Loneliness is negative, but alone is if a person is one choice to be alone. Yeah, he's suffering from psychological or emotional sickness. No, but he's choose to be alone. The reason to be alone is because he feel like he wants to be closer to concentrate on ibadah and to be closer to his creator. Because out of his love to his creator and his prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, so instead of being together, ritual together all the time, some people they want to be alone so that they can have time to read, particularly when after retirement, you know, you need really to be alone at times, not all the time, but at times. It depends on some people. Some people, they need to be alone more time, and from time to time they see the friends. Yeah, but some people they cannot tolerate to be alone for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Then they want to see friends. That's different. That depends on individual differences. But aloneness is a positive attitude which make you give your chance to ourselves, to yourself, in order to improve relationship, to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which resulted in a real happiness in this world and hereafter. And also aloneness is important for example, people who want to be good researcher, for example. You cannot all the time chat, talk with people. You cannot even finish your paper. If you have this, if you are you need to be alone because you have to focus on your academic career, and this is good. Yeah, it make you become professional, and then also this the work is rewarded in this world and the hereafter, because this reading, studying, contemplating, this is all a form of ibadah that make you get reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you get blessing in this hereafter. And particularly in the time of coronavirus, yeah, people need to be alone, inshallah, in order to deal with the issue of coronavirus. Yeah, it is not easy. Yeah, people are suffering from or psychological problem, isn't it? Domestic violence there when people cannot cope with coronavirus. So people need to learn, need to use the time, and people need to contemplate and enjoy aloneness so that they become happier person and able to tolerate the problem caused by coronavirus. If you keep complaining to 24 hours complaining, blaming others, you yourself, you never check yourself, you will be a very unhappy person in this world already, in the
Inshallah.
hereafter. Wallahu alam. So thank you very much.
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fatima. I believe Dr. Fatima also have covered a few of other questions that I wish to ask for, Dr. Fatima. But anyhow, I think that before I go to, because we are already at 4:13, so I have the last question for Dr. Amelia, and this question I think is related also with the question from YouTube. Okay, we have questions in YouTube from Nurashida Zainal. Okay, I want to know whether prolonged loneliness, okay, or stage 3 loneliness leads to being narcissistic, or is the later merely a personality thing? Because doctor touches on the stages, right? And then the final stage is more, I would say, severe and become apathy, not empathy. So perhaps doctor could elaborate further on that point, since that question is being asked in YouTube.
So, please correct me the question. So the what you call the person asking me to share more about what is the different prolonged loneliness compared to the stage 3 loneliness. Is it that one?
No, whether prolonged loneliness or stage 3 loneliness leads to being narcissistic, or the later merely a personality thing. Later means
Right.
like the narcissistic.
All right, thank you. Thank you for helping me out for that one. So I would say before I answer that kind of question, we need to understand what does it mean by narcissistic. Narcissistic is this one of the mental illness in DSM-5. So the basic idea of the definition of narcissistic is the person who's looking forward to be entitled with something. They want people to admire themselves, and they want to have the best for them, and they don't want to have the best for other people. It's more about sort of apathy, but I'm not so sure. I cannot say a narcissistic person perhaps may what you call experience loneliness. They may experience, but it's not equal loneliness. So to answer the question, is it equal to narcissistic? I would say no, but perhaps they share certain dimension together, sort of loneliness and narcissistic characteristic.
Okay, thank you for your response to that question. Okay, and then this is my question. Okay, so we have discussed about the hope and loneliness already. So from your opinion, what some of other ways that could help us to protect ourselves from being lonely to the extent that it could disturb our functioning? Because as what I can understand from both of our speakers, we have loneliness as in loneliness, and also aloneness, where being lonely is the choice. So what can we do to protect ourselves to not being lonely as in the first one, not the later one, not by decision but by circumstances?
Okay. All right. Thank you, madam. So first thing first, we should know that loneliness is not discriminate. Everyone, I would say, most of us from time to time, including me, I also experiencing loneliness. But what makes a difference to what extent that we feel loneliness and how far we actually want to help ourselves. And then I would say in another paradigm, loneliness is actually people not voluntarily want to feel lonely. Okay, so when we know that kind of idea, so it is not automatic response. Okay, so I would like to shed the light. It means that there is a hope because it's not automatic response. We can do something about it. And talking about hope, hope is actually a willpower that we have in ourselves in order to change. And also hope related to the willpower, how we're going to make some changes. And then when talking about hope, is actually not just equal to wishful thinking. I can say that I would say I'm hoping that I'm having certain thing. Yeah, I can dream of it, but I cannot go anywhere. I cannot get nothing. But hope is actually what they call active process. You need to do something. And then when I would like to share with you some of the prevention ways that we can do in order to, I don't know, stop loneliness from getting in a worsened way, we need to understand the dimension of loneliness itself. So loneliness basically is built up based on the basic three ideas of psychological construct, means affective, behavior, and cognitive, and it add three more dimensional. Okay, the first one is actually spiritual, which already shared very nicely, and I learned a lot from Dr. Fatima in context of spiritual. And then another two things that we need to know: hope is related to environment, so we need to be connected to our environment in terms of external factor and also in terms of relationships. And the last one, hope is actually in the moment process. It's not ending process, in the moment. I would say this is the thing that we are always frustrated with our hope, because we looking forward to the ending process. We want to, I don't know, get something after that, but we forget it is the journey itself. So I would share certain ways how we're going to prevent loneliness. I would say, actually, Dr. Fatima already touched about this one from the perspective of Islam, how Islam actually lay out for us to guide how to connect with other people. And I believe some of you out there as an audience already did this one, or perhaps keep continuing doing that. But perhaps I just use a fancy word from the psychological vocabulary. So the first thing is what we need to do is address the elephant in the room. So whenever we feel lonely, deep down inside, you cannot lie yourself. You know you feel lonely. So either you want to admit or not. So when you feel there's something wrong, just admit it. There's something. I feel lonely. Yes, fine. So when you do that, what you need to do is slowing down your life, slowing down your paces of life. So yes, I'm having this kind of thing. Process it. So how we're going to process, which is the second ways to do, which is feel the emotions. And then, but then, even though I asked you to feel the emotion, don't act based on that emotion. Why? Because when you feel the emotions related to the loneliness, it's all related to negativity emotion, all the negative one. So you feel anger, you feel frustrated, you feel sorrow, sadness, and so on and so forth. So of course, we as a human being, any kind of theories in psychology or counseling, I would say we have a tendency to exaggerate everything. Yes, do it yourself, exaggerate yourself. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to say out loud, venting with someone that you trust with, so do it. And some people are very private, you can write it down, whatever it is. So what the point I would like to see is actually let it go, move, vent it out, everything. Okay, as long as you feel okay to do it. But then whenever you let it out, it's actually you let out certain burden out of your thinking, out of your feeling. Don't act based on the emotion. What you need to do, go to the next phase, is find the meaning. The meaning to whom? The meaning to us first. Okay, I know some people have been, I would say, gifted by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Suddenly, he or she can connect it to the Allah in that high level. But to certain person, it is a long process for us. It's fine. Find our own first. In either to finding your own meaning, connect to yourself. Find your own. For me, for let's say my old Amelia, who am I when I was that Amelia? Who am I currently, Amelia? Something like that. And then, of course, by doing that, actually, it is hurtful to some point what you're going to do, because you feel you cannot do much, but you need to do kind of like do two lines. One is list down what is within your control through that kind of loneliness, what is without your control, out of your control. List it down. So you think Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, so when you list it down, actually, what in terms of a psychological techniques, what we did actually, we want you to visualize the things. When you write it down, it can become a practice, and then when you reread what you just wrote, is actually okay. This is something true. This is beyond my control. And the third one is actually what you need to do. You know, this is certain things that beyond my control, and this kind of the things that actually give me some negativity. So limit that kind of connection. You are not kind of like what you call like doctor said, putus silaturahim. You're not doing that way. You just like limit it. Perhaps instead of you saying that kind of person every day, perhaps twice a day, something like that. Because you need to heal yourself first. And then to some person, when you do this kind of step, it's too hard for you. And it means it's okay for you to reach out for the professional. Reaching out doesn't mean that you are low person. I would say it is reflect your courage to help yourself. Not everyone have that kind of courage seeking help. Okay, and then you can turn into hope questions. Means like you do journaling. You ask yourself, and then you may write it down. You may talk to other person or you to your counselor. Perhaps some of the question: who do you think that is so being hopeful in your life? So we begin with the question: who is your model, the hopeful person? Sort of analyze. If you feel that I don't have that kind of person in my life so far, find any inspirational stories, any inspirational, I don't know, song, whatever it is that you can connect with. I believe in Islam there's a lot of sirah, right, related to this one. Learn what kind of characteristic. Of course, we kind of like too far to that kind of level, but at least we have an aim. I want to reach that kind of characteristic one day, hopefully by the will of the Allah. And then the second, try to picture your hope and symbolize it. And we as a human being, when we talk about all the problems, is nothing there because it's so abstract. So we need to pin down all those kind of hope, all those kind of problems into things that is tangible. So when you symbolize your hope, try to symbolize in imaginary. Visualize your hope. If you like the color, what color that resemble hopeful for you? Okay, and then perhaps if you want to be a hopeful person, what kind of scent that you like to smell? Is it like citrus? Is it like lavender? Whatever it is, you know yourself. Okay, some person might say to me, Doctor, I don't know. Then give a try. You may know you have some preference out there. Okay, and then what you need to do, of course, ask yourself through hopeful question: when was the time that when something's turn out in a bad way, but out of sudden it become better? What actually happened? Go through that moment. When you go through that moment, actually, it's not just you reflect back what had happened, but you kind of reflect what is your capability. And sometimes we always underestimate ourselves. We say that I'm not good as enough as other people, but actually you are actually good for the things that you're experiencing for. All right. And then last one, we always tie with the magic question through the solution box focus therapy, which is what would you do if you wake up the next morning and you become a hopeful person? Perhaps you will do differently about your thinking, about your doing. And then the fifth one, what you can do is actually revisit your past victories. As I told you, the main point is actually visualize it to what they call be specific and be what they call knowing more about your capabilities. And then the sixth one is instead of having a singular hope, we would like you to have a portfolio of hope. Okay, portfolio means a bunch, right? So be careful. It's not a bunch. It's something that is bring you to the false hope. It's not that one. So what is hopeful? Portfolio hope. It means that you need to have a lot of small things that you hope for, but that kind of small things need to be in terms of a very small thing in what they call. I can do it in an acronym of SMART: simple, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time. So you need to get something. For example, perhaps if you feel so bad, you feel so lonely, what you can do? All right, if you like to drink Nescafe, go and buy Nescafe and then savor the moment when you drink the Nescafe. Or you say that, all right, I want to clean up my house. I want to rearrange my room. Do it and then take a photo and then you feel the moment. So that is kind of the portfolio, all right? So by having this kind of portfolio, sometimes you can begin with yourself, if you feel that you don't strong enough to get feedback from other people. So once you feel okay, you feel good, because the point is when you do something small in your portfolio and then you check, okay, I done this one, there is a positivity feelings come to you and you feel good, and it's actually encourage you to do more, and then you start connected with other people. How are you going to do it? Perhaps you just say salam. You can text a good quotes to other person and just share some funny things to a person. And it's okay if that person doesn't reply back. The point is actually do something good. Okay. So next, what you need to do is actually sometimes doing nothing. Doing nothing means really doing nothing. If you, of course, we feel a lot of stuff thinking, you may sit down and then actually see the view outside of your house, whatever it is. Just simply doing nothing. It's actually help. And then the last one, when you carry out your actually hopeful portfolio, try to act as if you are expecting the one will become to be. Okay, that means that act if. Okay, not react. Okay, acting if. And I believe throughout when you do your small portfolio, you feelings the good things. What I would like you to do actually celebrate the moments, okay? Savoring the moments. And the last one, there's a way that we can do in order to prevent loneliness, we call is enjoy vicarious hope. Enjoy vicarious hope means that vicarious is contagious, right? Means you do something good to other people. Because when you do something good, actually give you back to something. I don't know in what way, barakah, whatever. So some in a what we call Western world will call 1 minute kindness, whatever name that you do it. Okay. So yeah, that's for me.
Thank you so much for the very interesting tips. We received a lot, I believe, and I jot a lot of the tips from Dr. Emilia and Dr. Fatima. And but I'm afraid that we cannot continue much further because we are reaching to 4:30. But I don't want to end this forum with just that. Okay, so hopefully we are using a lot of hope words. Okay, so perhaps just in a very short and sweet final words from Dr. Fatima first and then Dr. Emilia, perhaps to our participants who they themselves experience loneliness or they know someone who experienced loneliness among their significant others. What are some of the wisdom words that you would want to share with them as a word of encouragement as well as the word of hope? Inshallah. Please, Dr. Fatima first.
Okay. Very short word. Just to find inner peace is really necessary in the age of this is the age of the akhir zaman. We have a lot of problems, so we have, in order to be safe, I think we have to find inner peace. This is very important, I think. Yeah. I watch a program, Walk, Walk, Walk. I do not know whether you are familiar with this program or not. I like it so much. The way the woman who runs this program, I like her so much, and I learn from her. And if people cannot be lonely, even if they are alone, because they can always talk to their body. I remember when she moved, she say, "Hey, my leg, be strong. Hey, my hand, what happened to you? Move up." Something like this. So interesting. These people are very creative. I think we should learn also from other than Dr. Amelia just now, mashallah, give a lot of tips here in order for us to ponder. And also again I go back to this contribution of spiritual intelligence. I read a lot. I like this spiritual intelligence that always put people, to have hope and to have life or meaning and to seek happiness. I think this is the way in order to deal with this troubled world, the world that is going to end soon. So we have to do something. Inner peace is a better word, I think, for this. Yeah.
Okay, inner
Thank
peace is
you
the
so
key
much.
word. Thank you so much, Dr. Fatima and Dr. Amelia.
All right, thank you. For me, I'm a person who like to read quotes. Okay, so sometimes I redo the quote. So this is some amendments of the quote that I get. I will read it for you. It is like a 5 line, but a small one. So never lose hope, because sometimes when you are alone, it is not because you are lonely, but to hear your inner hope whispers, it's okay, keep trying.
Oh,
That's all for me.
mashallah. It's a very simple, but both wisdom words is very impactful. I believe so. And thank you so much once again to both of our panelists, Dr. Fatima and Dr. Amelia, for your time, knowledge, and sharing. Thank you so much. And also to the
Yes,
participants who are continuously supporting us. And on behalf of Counseling and Career Services Center, the organizer of this symposium, I would like to apologize for any shortcoming and inconveniences. So hopefully we could see each other tomorrow morning. Please remember to click on the third link for the participants in Zoom, because this link will no longer be available after this session ended. So you need to enter the third link. So inshallah, with that note, thank you so much once again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Wallahu a'lam, inshallah. Hopefully we can see face to face after the COVID-19
Yeah,
settle. Inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
inshallah. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam
Assalam
warahmatullah.
warahmatullahi.
Have a good
Thank
rest,
you.
everyone.
Bye bye. Okay.